About a month ago, I found an article regarding swirls on horses' foreheads and how they can determine a horse's personality. We were a little hesitant to believe a theory like this actually existed, but after much research, we discovered that there is some research which backs up this theory. One of the swirls is a long swirl between the eyes which can extend below the eyes. This pattern indicates a horse who is friendly and enjoys people. For the most part, this applies to our pink thoroughbred Aspen, who was the first to come to us, probably for food, and is quite friendly to all humans. Aspen, though, does not have this long swirl, so the theory doesn't seem to apply to her. A horse who has two swirls adjoining, either one above the other or side by side, tends to be more emotional and can overreact. According to the theory, this horse tends to become upset without apparent reason, but can still be a great horse. However, this horse requires patience from its owner. This is supposed to be a common trait of Icelandic horses. Swirls higher on the forehead indicate greater intelligence and a more reactive nature. Aspen has two swirls, and one is quite high on her forehead. Although she can overreact when she hears an unfamiliar noise, if anything, she seems to struggle with stubbornness and laziness. Groundwork has been wonderful for her, as she seems to want to please and is becoming more responsive to commands. She, along with Flicka, tends to be one of our smartest horses. Next is a single swirl between or above the eyes. This is the most common swirl, and it typically indicates an easygoing, uncomplicated horse. Three of our horses, Ruger, an American quarter horse, Flicka, an Arabian, and Remy, an Arabian, have this swirl pattern. Although Ruger and Flicka seem to be rather easygoing horses, Remy is quite mischievous, and so this swirl doesn't seem to apply to him. Let's look a little bit more at the history. A swirl is a patch of hair growing in a different direction. The method of swirls is to make assumption about horses dates back to the Bedouins in Arabia, but was made famous in the 1960s through the 1980s by Linda Tellington Jones research. A horse's swirls are formed before birth and never change. The forehead swirls are considered to be the most indicative of temperament because the forehead hair is the first to grow on the embryonic fetus, and it is thought that the development of swirls is linked directly to the development of the brain. Also, the nervous system and the skin come from the same embryonic layer, further pointing to a link between the swirls and the brain. The next pattern is a single swirl several inches below the eye, which usually indicates a very intelligent but mischievous horse. This horse can often turn on water faucets and open stall doors. This is our Arabian yearling Remy. He is constantly opening up the gate for other horses to help themselves into the stables. However, as mentioned above, he would not fall under this category since he has only one swirl above his eyes. And lastly, three swirls close together on the forehead, not up under the forelock, is rather rare and indicates a complex horse, but not an unpredictable horse. None of our four horses have this triple swirl. Although there is so much more to this research, in theory we have only scratched the surface from what we know and can surmise from examining our horses. We are not necessarily convinced that this theory pertains to every horse and are not even sure if we would consider it when buying another horse. Although there may be some truth to it, we believe that how a horse is raised and treated plays a huge part in his or her personality. That's not to say that there is not a link to a horse's swirl and his or her temperament. It seems to apply to two of our horses, perhaps three, but our playful and curious yearling Remy seems to be the anomaly. We'd love to hear what you think and whether swirlology applies to your horses. Please don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, bye!
So, putting the swirl test to the test, I decided to do a little science experiment when I went to go feed the horses for the day. And so all the horses, for some reason, had walked into the corral, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity. I gave Norman some hay, and I was loving on him, and then I watched to see the horse's reaction. Which horse would be the first to leave the corral, knowing that the gate was open and they could leave anytime they wanted to. So it was very fun to see their reactions. Little Remy he stuck his head out in through the railings, and he even put his hoof on the railings, which is a bad habit, and we don't want him to do that. But he was definitely showing his impatience, and he's trying to figure out what to do. And the rest of the horses, they just were kind of doing their own thing for a little while. But he was definitely trying to figure out what his next step should be. As you can see, Aspen's starting to get a little impatient as well. She's sticking her head over the railing. She's trying to show me that she's wondering what I'm doing and maybe wondering how she can go get some of that hay that Norman's eating. Again, Remy's just staring at me. And then Flicka's staring at me now too. She is yawning. She is just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. There's her yawn. So now she's kind of wondering. Finally, Ruger's curiosity is stirred, and he's by the railing, and he's looking over too. Eventually, I even walk by the gate to show them that they can leave. And then lastly, I bring out a slice of hay, and that really did it. They were really hungry by this point, and they wanted their hay for the day. So the question is, who was the first horse to leave the corral? So at first I thought Aspen would be the first one to walk out. She has the most swirls, and she even walked up to the gate, and then she seemed to kind of backtrack. But Remy is definitely looking at me, and he wants some hay. So if you guessed Remy, you are correct. He was the first one to leave, and soon behind him, Aspen followed. But she didn't come right away. It still took her a little bit, but she was looking at Remy eating the hay, and she wanted some too. But then she's out, and then Ruger's out, and then lastly Flicka. So is the swirl test true? Well, there has been some inconsistencies with our horses. It doesn't always work out just because they have a certain amount of swirls on their head, but it is something to consider.